Good morning. Denise, can you hear me? Oh my God. Now what? Okay. Can you hear now? Okay, can you turn on your microphone? Uh-huh. I see. Uh-huh. Okay, so take your time and maybe some more people will join us. Maybe you will re-enter the meeting and it will help somehow to join with Mike. Okay. So let me know when Artem, good morning.
Morning.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, because Denise has some problems with microphone. And at first he couldn't hear me. So he tries to figure it out, and let's start with warming up, and maybe you will tell me the resolution of the year, because we've got 2023 now. And what's about the year, which was challenging, of course, for everyone, but for you personally, what can you say about this year? what you've learned.
You mean about 2023 or previous year?
No, 2022, the previous
What
one. Good morning.
what was the most challenging for me?
Yeah.
Um, maybe my job and university. I entered master program.
Okay. And the wisest decision you've made in 2022 was what?
Good question. I think that I could make more wiser decisions that I did, but I don't know, actually. I can't say.
Okay, Denise, have you figured out your microphone? Can you participate?
Probably not.
I see. Okay. So the next question, maybe Denise, maybe you will type about the wisest decision you've made in 2022. It's if you can't speak, maybe you'll type your answer. Nikita, good morning.
Good morning.
So how are you doing? Can you hear us?
Yes. I have some problem
Okay.
with internet, so I can answer slowly.
I see. So we are discussing the previous year. We like resume previous year, and I ask about the wisest decision you made in 2022. So Denise still can't speak, right?
Well, maybe he don't have electricity and
So something wrong with his microphone because he couldn't hear me, and he typed that something was some problems with microphone, and he tries to fix it. Okay. So Nikita, what about you? What's the wisest decision you've made in 2022? How do you think? Can you hear me, Nikita?
Yes, I think.
Okay, and I'll ask the next question maybe while you are thinking. And the next question would be the biggest lesson you've learned from 2022. Maybe it's easier because too many lessons we had to learn from this the previous year. So who is ready to answer? Just turn on your microphones and give your response. Okay. Artem, any suggestions?
For me, it's never put something for yesterday. If you want to do something, just do it today.
Okay. So live without delaying, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, actions.
Our mistakes, and I agree with no, that if you can do something today, you must do it today.
We don't know what will happen tomorrow, right? Unpredictable
Yes.
period of time in our life. Okay, and the biggest surprise you got in 2022? The biggest surprise, what was it for you personally, of course? Of course, for everyone, the biggest surprise was the beginning of the war. Despite we could suggest that it might start, but anyway, we believed in better and hoped it wouldn't have happened, right? But except this one, any other surprises from 2022? I don't know whether they were positive or negative, but what can you name? Denise still can't join the conversation. Okay, Nikita, any surprises? From 2022? No suggestions? Artem, what about you?
So your question was what positive and negative thing?
The biggest surprise you got in 2020?
Probably war.
Yeah, it was a surprise for everyone, but maybe something else.
How Ukrainians got to helped each other. How Ukrainians are strong.
Okay, yeah, I do agree with you. And Nikita, any surprises you got from the previous year?
I think that the biggest surprise that Ukrainian can be united, maybe with different interests, different
yeah. how strong our nation is, how can we be united despite different points of view.
Because of work,
Bachelor work.
bachelor work, yes.
Mhm. Okay, so what are you proud of the most about yourself? Speaking about 2022, anything that make you proud of yourself? Maybe volunteering, maybe some new features, characters that you discovered in yourself during 2022. So Denise, can you type at least? What are you proud of? Oh, Denise, you can't hear me again. Okay, Nikita, anything you are proud of?
I think that I can say that I can proud, but I during this not easy period in our life, I try to help anywhere where I can do this, and uh, I'm a volunteer. But I think that it's nothing special in this in our time. In this time.
Okay, but you have the opportunity to help in information front, like it is called information art. Have you ever participated in such, like blocking some Russian channels, or I don't know what else, like
Yes, I we have a special site when where anyone who wants can participate in blocking different Russian sites and other problems.
And maybe some techniques to recognize fake information in, for example, even our channels. Are there any? Because at the beginning of the war, my sister and I and her friends, we also did such a thing, like claim on websites which gave disinformation about the war. But I don't know whether it was helpful, but we did it a lot. At the beginning of the war, maybe for 2 months. So it was mostly in Telegram. But later we were said that it's useless because they do not block these channels. So maybe you have some information whether they block or not, or what to do in this case.
I all of this time I tried to give the right information for our family, our friends, send the right information to different Ukrainian resources. And I think that it can help to
recognize disinformation, right?
Yes.
In such a way. Okay. So, of course, every time we hear that we should trust only official resources, but anyway, so many Telegram channels and lots of different information there. And sometimes it's fake information, sometimes it's true information. So it's difficult to recognize, to analyze so quickly because massive informational stream, nowadays is. So Artem, what about you? What are you proud of, and your participation in? How did you help during this wartime?
I'm proud of my uncle much more than me, because now he is protecting our country on the east. But I'm little proud that I can afford to make donations to support our army, because before I didn't.
Okay.
But yeah, actually that's it.
Any achievements at work? Because as far as I remember, you work for a Spanish company, right? Any achievements during 2022 at work, I mean?
I closed a lot of tasks. I closed a lot of tasks. I delivered a lot of features, but I can say that's something big, just like regular work.
Okay, for you it's normal work, yeah. But you finished, yes, some tasks, so
Yes.
And it's also some maybe a little but achievement. Okay, 3 people influenced you during this time, maybe in negative side, maybe in positive side, because, for example, as for me, During wartime, I lost some friends, unfortunately, or fortunately, I don't know. But we went different ways. But with some people, I became closer than it was before. So that is why maybe some people influence you in positive way, helped you, supported you, make a delete them. When I lost my husband in this war, so these two people are my closest, and of course I was shocked how strong they are. And one friend, as I recognized, she used to live in Kherson, but I don't know about now. So she took the opposite side, and she became like Russian propagandist, and of course we stopped communicating even before the war. Maybe a year before the war we stopped communicating, but it was also unpleasant surprise for me to get to know that now she's like an enemy. So these three people influenced me the most. What about you? Nikita.
I'm also have some friends that we have different view on some situations, and we decided to stop talking because it's don't make sense.
Okay. And in positive way, any people who influence you in positive way?
In positive, maybe my family that we now we are closer, and we can
support each other, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And Artem, what about you?
As I said, is my uncle
expectations from this year, which has started 3 weeks ago? Personally, you. Any expectations or plans? Do you have any? Taking into account the situation of that the war is still continuing. So, but anyway, we have to
is to increase my salary.
Mhm.
And as anyone also do.
Yeah, it's common wish, yeah, for every Ukrainian person to to win as soon as possible and to celebrate the victory. Yeah. Okay, and Nikita, what about you? Okay. Yeah, it's nice goal. And 3 things you are ready to say no in 2023 in your life. So to refuse yourself in something, or 3 things you want to get rid of. Is there anything? So for me, it's fear and desperation. There are 2 things, and wanting nothing. So if you want nothing, so no goal, it's very difficult to find the resources to live, to continue struggling. So that's why I want to get rid of this feeling that I want nothing. So what about you? What 3 things you are ready to say no in 2023?
Yes. And the third thing, um, um, I want to be sure in our decisions.
In our future. Yeah? So to get
Yes.
rid of its uncertainty in the future. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And Artem, what about you?
What I want to get rid
Yeah.
of.
In 2023.
I don't know this word. Let me check. Oh, yes, of course. Laziness. And to become more organized.
And productive, yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So thank you so much. And I hope that your expectations in 2023 will come true. And we, of course, first of all, celebrate our victory as soon as possible. Yeah. And today's topic is taking part in a meeting. And here are 3 questions from our course book. Have you ever taken part in a meeting in English? 7A exercise. I hope you see the screen. The first question, have you ever taken part in a meeting in English? And if so, who was the meeting with and how was it? If no experience, just say that you have no experience.
I haven't taken part because on my work, I usually use Skype to text, not for meeting. But I had interview.
Not in person, yeah? You had interview.
Yes, I had interview in English, so kind of meeting.
Yeah, sure. And how was it for you?
It was
or not?
hard.
What was the most difficult?
The most difficult was to combine words in sentence.
Okay, to think how to make the full sentence and to share the idea, right?
Yes.
To deliver the idea, what you want to say. And Nikita, any experience in meeting in English?
I haven't the experience of taking part in meeting in English, but I agree with Artem that when I speak English, sometimes it's a big problem to
express, yeah, to express.
Yes, I want I know what I want to say, but I don't want how to say.
Don't know how to say it. Okay. What other difficulties might be during the meeting in English? Because in your specialty, it's very probable to have a job in a foreign company or to have partners from foreign companies. And anyway, we have to communicate with these people. So what might be the problems except the language barrier maybe, or the lack of knowledge, of language? What other difficulties might it be?
It might be culture gap. So sometimes we are, I mean, Slav people are rude for foreigners just because we use
We are more emotional, yeah. In
no that are straightforward for them, but in a
Okay. So Denise, any success with your microphone? People. Some participation in any meetings like at work when you have to present something or to explain something or to give feedback or something like that. So any experience of public speech?
I think I have some experience when I present my science work in school, and after my presentation, we discuss about my work.
Okay, that's great. So, any troubles while speaking? Did you have any troubles?
I had some problems when there were some questions for me that I didn't know what I can answer in this question.
Okay, how did you feel?
I very nervous.
Embarrassed and nervous, yeah, of course.
Yes.
Okay, Artem, any experience of public speech?
Yes, I have an experience. We have a lot of public speech on my first graduate on my first bachelor's course. We have a lot of public speech in different topics in English in front of our group mates.
Okay.
And
How
I
was it?
have- What?
How was it? Were you satisfied with yourself, with your results, with the results? Were you satisfied?
I could say yes on that period.
Oh, okay, at that period it was okay, yeah? So what about your emotional state during this speech? Were you self-centered and sure in yourself?
No, I wasn't. I was also nervous, but I was prepared, so I could speech without long pauses. But
Okay.
inside, I was dead inside.
So what about the audience? Were they active participants? Were they listening to you?
Yes, some of them listening.
Some of them, yeah. And Nikita, what about you? What about the audience? Did you feel feedback from the audience while you were talking?
There were a lot of students who also preparing their presentation of their science works. So I think a lot of them didn't listen me because they're
because they were busy with their own presentation.
yes.
Okay. So looking back to your own experience, what can you do to improve this quality, to take part in a meeting and to speak without fear, without hesitation, and be more confident? So any advice or recommendations for yourself and for us, how to improve this quality?
To speech more often.
To practice, yeah.
Probably that's the one way to improve as much as possible.
Okay. So use the opportunity to take part, yeah, and improve these features in practice. Yeah, so the best way. Okay. Any other advice? Nikita?
Be
Okay.
prepared.
Be prepared. Yeah, sure.
But after, if you confident, you can improve. You can use improvisation.
Yeah, sure. And
but
if
only
you
if
are
you're
keen,
confident.
yeah, if you are keen on this topic, right?
Yes.
Yeah, then it's not so difficult as if if you have just a report and don't know much information about what you are talking about, yeah, it's more difficult and more problems you can have if you can't answer the questions. Yeah, of course, you feel B. We will listen to the speakers and they will talk about problems they had the experience with while taking part in meetings. So, and I will ask you to take a list, a sheet of paper and maybe a pen or a pencil, whatever you have, and to take notes about these problems which you can hear. Okay?
Okay.
So, okay. Mhm.
3.3. Speaker 1. Sahal.
Before I went to the meeting, I thought my listening and speaking skills were quite good. But when I got there, I realized how hard it was to listen to so many people. When you are talking one-on-one, it's easy to follow and join in the conversation. But at the meeting, the topic seemed to change before I'd had time to understand what had been said. I didn't manage to say anything at all and left totally confused.
Okay, that was the first speaker. And could you recognize any problems he talked about?
He talked about that it was hard to him to listen to many people at once, and when he was talking to one people he could understand well, but if it's a lot of people he can't
Catch the idea, yeah?
catch the idea. He doesn't have enough time to think about what person said.
What type of conversation might it be when a lot of people are speaking simultaneously? What type of conversation might it be?
What do you mean? You mean dialogue?
What kind of conversation is it when a lot of people can speak at the same time? It's not a speech of one person, right? It's a kind of what?
Discussion.
Yeah, might be discussion, debates, or something like that, right? But
yes.
But not a presentation, not a report of somebody. Okay. So the second person and the experience of this person.
Speaker 2. Hitomi.
In Japan, we let one person finish what they're saying before we start to speak. It's polite. At the first meeting I went to, everybody seemed to talk at the same time. People weren't even interrupting politely. They just talked over the top of each other. It got louder and louder. I wanted to join in, but there was no chance for me to say anything. At the next meeting, I was more confident, but it was still hard for me to speak when someone else was already talking.
Mm-hmm. Okay, one more problem which we have mentioned, yeah, about what this lady is also talking about. Cultural
Yep.
So cultural differences, right?
Yes.
So in Japan, they have
In Japan, it's polite to give
listen.
a chance to person to finish her speech.
Yes, so to listen to carefully until the person finishes speaking. But in this scientific meeting, what she met?
Everybody try to interrupt Tommy.
Okay, right, and it was difficult to say anything, right? Okay, so one more speaker.
Speaker 3, Sam. Most meetings in my department are quite short. Only about 30 to 40. They seem to go
Difficulty in this particular case. What's the problem, Nikit?
It's difficult to concentrate, to listen other, and when you are not concentrate, you can
skip the
important information, yes. And after that, you wouldn't know what about talking.
Yeah, so you couldn't catch, yeah?
Yes.
Okay, right. So it's a long period of time when you have to be concentrated, and for person it's difficult to be concentrated for half an hour intensively, yeah? So that's why he couldn't catch the information, and he couldn't answer the opinion, the question about opinion. And the last one.
Speaker 4, Radek.
The biggest problem I have at meetings is knowing how formal or informal my language should be. I am not really sure which phrases are slang and things, you know. It's a real problem when I want to disagree with someone without being rude, or when I want to ask what someone means or stuff like that.
3.4.
Okay, very interesting topic for discussion. So what's the problem was?
The problem is that formal and informal speaking
language to use, right?
Yes.
And if you talk about scientific meeting, for example, conference or we use in this case. What language should we use? Formal or informal?
In most cases, but some of scientific person are very confident and they can afford for them to use slang, even if it's scientific.
Even if they're scientists, yeah. Okay, and if you speak about, for example, meeting in a company, staff meeting, what language would it be, formal or informal? people, yeah, we of course used formal language, but when it was the meeting of Ukrainian team, sure, of course we could use even informal language while discussing some issues during our work and other plans and so on. So it depends. Yes, for sure. It depends about the level of their meeting, about the atmosphere, yeah, in your company, and even about the ethics of some staff are friendly and they behave in a friendly way, and some staff is more formal. So that is why we have to analyze and after that follow their rules. Okay, so and one more video I would like to show you about, you have heard about TED Talks, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm. So 13 minutes video about speech in front of other people. So of course in future you will have to present your scientific results in front of committee board, and you have to be prepared for this event in your life. Yeah. And some advice
and introduce ourselves. When class was over, he called me over and said, "Hey, Matt, you're really good at this talking thing. I need you on Saturday to show up at the speech contest." Doing as I was told, I prepared a 10-minute presentation on karate. It was something I was passionate about, and it was pretty easy to do. Now, that cold September Saturday morning, when I showed up, I was shocked. The room was much larger than I had expected. There were many more people there. My friends' parents who were serving as judges, and the girl I had a crush on. At that moment, I felt tremendous anxiety. In the first 10 seconds of my 10-minute presentation, my life changed forever. You see, I started my presentation with a karate kick. I was told to do this because it would engage the audience and get their attention. But because of my anxiety, I forgot to put on my special karate pants. You know, the ones with a little extra room down there? You get where this is going. I ripped my pants from belt loop to zipper. In that moment, I learned the impact of anxiety on communication. And from that moment, I have dedicated my life to helping others learn to address this fear. Each of us has stories to share, input to give, and ideas to spread. If we allow anxiety to get in the way of that, we miss out. Society misses out, and we lose valuable, diverse voices. Now, I am not alone in my anxiety. in communication. If you have ever given spontaneous feedback, given a presentation, spoken up in a meeting, or even asked somebody on a date, you know what this anxiety feels like. Research shares with us that 85% of people feel anxious in high-stakes speaking situations. And quite frankly, I think the other 15% are lying. I think we can create a situation in which they would feel nervous too. So we must act to manage our anxiety so we can accomplish our communication goals. Now, I use that word manage very carefully. I don't think we can ever truly overcome our anxiety, nor would we want to. Anxiety is actually helpful. It gives us energy. It helps us focus. It tells us what we're doing is important. But we must manage it so it doesn't manage us. And it's not just to help us feel more confident. It helps our audience as well. How do you feel when you see a nervous speaker communicate? Some of you might like to watch people suffer, but most of us don't. Most of us feel very uncomfortable and awkward. In fact, I call this second-hand anxiety. The communicator's anxiety makes us feel nervous as an audience, and therefore we're distracted and we can't pay attention to the message. So we need to manage our anxiety, not just to help ourselves as communicators, but to help our audience get our message. Before I introduce you to some techniques that can help us manage our anxiety, I think we need to spend a few moments understanding where this anxiety comes from. I believe it's hardwired in us. It's based on evolution. We are wired to be very concerned about our relative status to others. Now, I'm not saying who drives the fanciest car or who has the most likes to a post they just put up. I'm talking about the status that existed when our species was first evolving, and we were hanging out in groups of about 150 people. Your relative status there meant everything. It meant access to resources, food, shelter, reproduction. It was absolutely critical that you had status within that group. It was a matter of life or death. So this constant surveillance and understanding of our status is something that we carry forward to this day. Yet, we can manage it. It started. For some of us, when we start communicating in high-stakes situations, we feel our heart pound. Maybe we get a little shaky. Maybe we perspire or blush. We can manage these symptoms. Take a deep breath before you start. The kind of breath you would do if you're doing yoga or Tai Chi or Qigong. That'll calm you down. If you shake, gesture broadly. Big, broad gestures, they can really help that adrenaline go somewhere. Most nervous people make themselves small and tight and they hold it in and shake. If you perspire or blush, hold something cold in the palm of your hand. It'll cool you down. Much like putting a cold compress on your forehead or the back of your neck if you have a fever, holding something cold reduces your core body temperature, reduces the perspiration, reduces the blushing. You've all experienced this in reverse. On a cold day, have you ever held hot coffee or tea and felt how it warmed you up? We're just doing the opposite. There are things you can do to manage the physiological symptoms you have around anxiety. But what about the cognitive symptoms? The thing that makes people really nervous cognitively is their own anxiety. It works something like this. You're sitting in a meeting and your turn is about to come up. And as you're sitting there, you start getting a little shaky. You might have some beads of perspiration on your brow. And you start thinking to yourself, oh my goodness, this is really important. I should have prepared more. I can't believe I'm in this situation. Why am I doing this and not my colleague? This sucks. That's your anxiety making you more nervous. There is a way that you can short circuit this. Instead of running away from your anxiety, greet it. Say to yourself, This is me feeling nervous. It makes sense that I'm nervous. I'm about to do something of consequence and importance. And by giving yourself permission to feel anxious, you actually give yourself a sense of agency. You can take a breath, walk around the building. This will help you feel composed rather than as if your anxiety is spiraling out of control. We can do things that manage our physiological and psychological symptoms. But we also have to address the things that make our anxiety worse, the sources. The number one fear I hear from people is, I'm afraid I'm going to forget. I'm going to blank out. A great way to manage this is to have a map. You can't get lost if you have a map. A map is nothing more in communication than a plan, a structure, a design. There are many structures that can help you with your communication. My favorite is the what, so what, now what structure. You start by talking about what it is you're communicating. Could be your idea, your plan, your product, a process. You then explain why it's important to your audience. How do they value from what you're saying? And then finally, you explain what is next, what comes afterwards. By having a structure like what, so what, now what, you are less likely to forget. And by the way, it helps the people you're speaking to remember what you're saying as well. Now, another big accelerant to anxiety has to do with the valuation and judgment we feel the audience is doing on us. A great way to manage this is to redirect their attention. Have them focus on something else. So if you're giving a presentation, show a video clip, take a poll. If you're in interpersonal communication, ask a question, pass around a handout. These distract people from paying attention to you. It gives you an opportunity to calm down. And the cool thing is, it gets them more involved and engaged. It's a true win-win. The last source I'd like to talk about has to do with how we see our communication. Raise your hand if you have done one of these 4 things before in your life. Has anybody done any singing, dancing, acting, or played a sport? Everybody. In each of those activities, there's a right way and a wrong way to do it. You're performing. If you're an actor and you misspeak your line at the wrong time in the wrong place, you've made a mistake, not just for you, but the audience and the other actors. If you're an athlete and you don't do what your sport requires at the right time and the right way, you've done it wrong. In fact, some sports keep track of the errors you make. We carry this mentality of right or wrong into our communication. I am here to tell you, as somebody who has been doing this for a long, long time, there is no right way to communicate. There are better ways and worse ways, certainly, but no one right way. So we need to replace the way we see communication as a performance as something else. And I'd like to suggest we need to reframe it as a conversation. How do you do that? First and foremost, put your attention on your audience. You're in service of their needs. With this audience-centric approach, it makes it more conversational. Second, use conversational language. Words like us, you, and we, that involves people. And finally, ask questions. Questions by their very nature are conversations. They're two-way. In so doing, you make the interaction less stressful for you and more engaging for your audience. So taken together, there are things that we can do to manage our anxiety by addressing both symptoms and sources. Now, this isn't necessarily easy. It takes time. It takes persistence. We're fighting against ingrained anxiety and years of learned behaviors and habits. But with a little self-kindness and patience, we can learn to manage our anxiety. I see it happen all the time. Let me share a story with you. I met Irma, who is a 72-year-old grandmother, a couple years ago. Irma, like me, had a very traumatic experience in high school. She contributed some comment in class, and her English teacher looked at her and said, "That is the absolute worst communication I have ever heard." From that moment on, Irma actively avoided communicating with others, so much so that she chose the profession as a research librarian specifically so she wouldn't have to talk to many people. But one day, her granddaughter, who she loved very much, asked her to give a toast at her wedding. Irma wanted to fulfill this request, and that's where our paths crossed. I'll never forget the look on Irma's face when she told me of her goal. It was a combination of sheer terror and complete determination. Now, I am thrilled to share with you that Irma, after 3 months of hard work and a little encouragement, gave an amazing toast. The joy on her face is something that I will never forget. Like Irma, we all can learn to manage our anxiety, regardless of if you're presenting at a wedding or in a meeting. If you're pitching or protesting, you can learn to feel more confident when you communicate. And we all benefit from the stories you're going to share, the input you're going to give, and the ideas that you're going to spread. I so look forward to your speaking up without freaking out. Thank you.
Okay, so motivative video about speaking up without freaking out. What's your first impression about this video?
Very long.
Very long. Okay. Maybe, yeah, a bit long. So you couldn't catch the idea?
I could catch.
Mm-hmm. But it was difficult to concentrate all the time.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And the speech a bit fast for you?
Not so fast, but some words are unknown for me.
Unfamiliar. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. So let's try to anyway, let's try to find out about, first of all, about the vocabulary. Okay, can you see? So what anxiety is?
Тревожность.
Угу, так. Беспокойство, тривожність, страх, щось, такі от почуття. Окей, freak out. Freak out – це також страх. Speaking up, тобто говорити without freaking out, без страху, без паніки. Okay? Miss out.
Lose something.
Yeah, lose something, lose like opportunity or something like that. Surveillance, it's the same as observation. Surveillance, the same as observation, like спостереження. Perspiration, perspiration. Oblige, he mentioned. Perspire, oblige. Це коли ви нервуєтесь, у вас може
Yes.
виступити аж піт, да? на лобі, чи змокріти ваші долоні. Це є perspiration, спітнілість. Ну, це саме відчуття, саме як результат не жари, а саме як результат ваших переживань. So, benefit from something.
Користь, дивіться.
Так, так. Але дивіться, є benefit і є advantage. When I worked for Oxford University Press, we got the explanation between these two terms. Benefits, it's what's personally for you. And advantage, it might be something positive about the, for example, product or about whatever, but not personally personally, but advantage of this thing, of this issue, of this product, or anything. Okay, so speaking about product, it would be advantage. For example, good quality, nice material, or whatever. If we speak about the program, yeah, good quality of program, it's secured, it's easy to understand, and for person. So what are the benefits of this program? For example, if it is a time management program, it gives you the opportunity to manage your time, to be more productive. So for you personally, okay, that's the difference. Okay, and any other words maybe for you which were unfamiliar? Cognitive, what is cognitive? So he talked about physical symptoms and cognitive symptoms. Cognitive symptoms, what's in our head, yeah, made by our brain. Те, що в нашій свідомості. So what else? Any other unfamiliar words? Or you don't remember?
Don't remember, sorry.
Okay. Okay, let's try to answer the questions then. Maybe we will revise some words during our conversation, and I will give you explanation or at least translation. What is the main idea of this talk? So what did he try to give as an advice? How to do what?
He tried to explain that anxiety is a part of us and we shouldn't avoid it. We need to manage it.
And manage. Yeah. Firstly, accept, yeah, and then manage. So everything is in our hand. And some practical ideas how to do it. What does it mean to manage anxiety? How many stages and did he propose to do? Something wrong with your heart, yeah, when you're nervous. Okay. So cognitive anxiety, cognitive. The worst scenario we have in our head, yeah? When we are afraid and we start thinking more and more to developing this worst scenario, yeah? And sources. Speaking about sources, he spoke about symptoms and sources. So symptoms might be physical and cognitive, and sources. What are the sources? Things which makes our anxiety worse. Yeah?
Yes.
Okay. What are the ways to manage physical symptoms? If you shake, what you have to do?
I don't exactly remember if you shake, but I remember he said that you need to accept in your head that anxiety is normal and
Okay, accept it. Yeah. So do not avoid it, just accept it. Say, yes, okay, I'm nervous. I'm afraid of the audience. Yeah, accept it. So exception is the first step to overcome the fear. Okay. So if you shake, you just have to breathe deeply. He said, like in yoga or Tai Chi. It's Tai Chi.
Yeah.
It's a way to breathe. Yeah. So breathe deeply and slowly. So you can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In your breath,